Hello, today we are going to install the operating system OpenIndiana, which is a continuation of the operating system OpenSolaris. So the lineage is like this. OpenSolaris, the open source code of OpenSolaris stopped being updated. Then the OpenSolaris source code was continuated by the operating system IllumOS. This contains the kernel, a small user land around the kernel, and the basis of the operating system OpenSolaris. So ZFS, the IPS package manager, dtrace, zones, etc. and a minimal set of packages. And on top of IllumOS, various operating systems are being built by enhancing IllumOS with many more packages and with different strategies. Let's go to the IllumOS website. And in here it says that you should download and install the OpenIndiana distribution of IllumOS. So we're doing just that. Let's see the wiki page of OpenIndiana. It contains the Mate desktop environment, so you can install it in graphical user interface mode. There's a graphical user interface installer wizard, and then the operating system, once installed, will boot into Mate desktop environment. So very similar to OpenSolaris, which was using GNOME 2. Similar theming, very similar. This is the homepage of the project OpenIndiana, openindiana.org. In here we can see that there was a recent release in April of this year. They have thousands of IPS packages, including Firefox, Thunderbird, LibreOffice, Mate, OpenSSH, GCC and CLang toolchains, PostgreSQL, etc. And let's go to the downloads page. We have a x86-64 hardware machine. It's running Ubuntu 24.04. We're going to use QEMU Virt Manager to create a virtual machine. So this is another operating system where the live DVD and live USB media are different. We're going to use the live DVD. The alternatives are text mode installer. So we want to use the graphical user interface installer. So this file is what we want, live DVD. I've already downloaded the file. Let's create the virtual machine. New virtual machine. Says OI, which means OpenIndiana, and then Hipster, which is the version. This is a rolling release. Graphical user interface installer. Virt Manager doesn't find a suitable template for this ISO, so let's write something in here. I wrote Solaris. I know, let's go with generic Linux 2022. Forward. 10 gigabytes of RAM, 14 vCPUs, 200 gigabytes of virtual disk. This is OpenIndiana. Okay. So this operating system does know the newer motherboard, which is Q35. Does have SMP, symmetric multiprocessing. It's similar to the Solaris Enterprise operating system from Oracle. Does not know VirtIO, so we'll go with SATA. Does know SATA CD-ROM, so we'll keep it like this. Network interface card does not know VirtIO, so we go with Intel 1000. Okay, we begin installation. This is the bootloader that we have seen in OmniOS, in IllumOS. So this is the live CD starting, asks me the language, the 47, which means English. Okay, now the Xorg server has started. We have the Mate desktop environment. Let's resize a bit the window. And we're not going to spend time in here. The resolution is wrong, but you can change it. And we're just straight going to start the OpenIndiana graphical user interface operating system installer. The order in which the icons appear on the desktop varies. If you're going to run the ISO again, this order is going to be different. So install openindiana.org. Okay, so we go next. In here, I'm selecting use whole disk, which will actually set up ZFS, as I would expect, because many functionalities in IllumOS depend on ZFS, such as, or are work way better with ZFS, such as zones. Next. English. Root password. Login name. I am trying the usual user that I create in my virtual machines, which is administrator. Complains that the user names cannot be longer than 8 characters, so we'll go with admin. Computer name OpenIndiana, the same as the virtual machine, correct. Next. Next. Okay, so this is the way that the open source continuation of OpenSolaris is split. The core responsibility goes to the IllumOS project, which contains an entire operating system, but with few packages, including the package manager IPS, including ZFS, boot environments, all of the OpenSolaris and Solaris goodies. Crossbow, dtrace, SMF for managing services or daemons, the init system. And on top of this, other additional operating systems are being created by adding new packages, like thousands of packages in the case of OpenIndiana. Okay, so now we have the graphical user interface installer wizard finished. We can look at the installation log. So swap, time zone, ZFS, root pool device. Scroll does not work. ZFS unmount. Okay. Close, reboot. After rebooting, we will look at the virtual machine settings to make sure that the ISO is not in the CD-ROM drive. So here should be empty, and at boot options, we should only have SATA disk 1. Okay, so this is the same bootloader as other IllumiOS operating systems, and knows about ZFS, knows about boot environments. The package manager PKG will do ZFS boot environments as needed. This is the SMF service descriptions, a one-time task after installing the operating system. Okay, and this is the desktop manager. Let's connect. Admin. Similarly to the live CD session, the entire desktop does not fit on the screen resolution, so we'll want to change the screen resolution. So system, preferences, hardware displays, and in here don't select the biggest resolution possible, but the next one. So 720 by 1280. Keep this configuration. Close. We can't select a bigger resolution. We can't make the virtual machine take just half of the screen. Copy paste from the virtual machine does not work. So we're going to try to connect to the virtual machine, not using the virtualization software's graphical console SPICE, but either the RDP protocol or the VNC protocol. Let's see if we can connect to the virtual machine using SSH. By default, we did not specify during the OpenIndiana installer that we want the OpenSSH server to be installed and enabled by default. So this is the IPv4 address of the virtual machine. SSH mean, and there's an OpenSSH server listening. We can connect to it. Sudo is working out of the box. And we're probably on bash. Let's prove this. So as user root, bash. And as user admin, bash also. Born again shell. Okay. Let's disconnect from the virtual machine, which is done from here, log out admin, log out. And we're going to try to update the system from the SSH connection and then install the required VNC software. Okay, so if I have pkg, which is the package manager, search, and we can search for, I don't know, for RDP. We're looking for the XRDP server, no such thing. VNC. And we have the option of X11 VNC package. Let's get the latest metadata about available packages from the enabled package repositories for pkg. So that's pkg update. This does what apt update does, but also in addition what apt upgrade does. So we'll also upgrade all of the packages that are currently installed on the computer. And since it needs to install many packages, many IPS packages, so 468 of them, it will require reboot, and that will create a boot environment, a BE, before actually asking us to reboot. So as part of installing many packages, at the end of installing packages, we'll create a snapshot of the current system, so another boot environment. In the bootloader, when you restart the computer, you can, by default, it will boot in the newest boot environments, such that you have the newest changes that you did to the operating system. But from the bootloader, you can select previous boot environments. For instance, to get back to the version of the operating system before installing 468 packages. So the packages have been downloaded. It's then taking care of what they call actions. Remove old actions, install new actions, and update actions. Okay, and now the installation has finished and says that there's a new boot environment available, which is called OpenIndiana, and then the today's date. If we reboot, then we're going to use the latest, newest boot environment. And we want to do that. But we do not know how to reboot a IllumoS machine. So we're going to use the virtualization software. Reboot. Let's see it rebooting. Okay, 10 seconds timeout to boot into the first option, which is boot multi-user in the OpenIndiana bootloader. You will always have many packages to install after you install a OpenIndiana ISO, because OpenIndiana is a rolling release operating system. Once new open source packages are released in source form, Then the OpenIndiana packagers take those and build OpenIndiana packages out of those, and then those binary packages are provided via the IPS repositories to all of the installations of OpenIndiana. So in a continuous fashion, there's no software that remains stale for 3 years if the packager wants to update the package to the newest public release version of that package. Let's connect again using SSH. Okay, and let's follow my tutorial on how to install the VNC server on OpenIndiana. So my wiki page, nmariusp.github.io, how to install other operating systems. Linux comes first, and BSD, and then at the end we have other types of operating systems. So we could connect as the user admin. We can become the super user. We have installed the latest updates of binary packages. Then we're going to install the only RDP or VNC server that I could find, which is X11 VNC. X11 VNC actually depends on XVFB, but I'm not sure why it doesn't install the package XVFB by default. So this smells like a packaging issue for the X11 VNC package, which should have a dependency on XVFB package. Okay, so the software has been installed. And now we're going to start the server. Let's see what it says. First of all, it complains that you are running X11 VNC without a password. Anyone with network access will be able to view and control your desktop. That's not a problem because it's a virtual machine, but still let's silence this warning. Says that you should call X11 VNC minus store password, which will ask you for a VNC password, and then it will store that password in this file, so tilde/.vnc/passwd. Let's run this command line. Asks for the password. Write password to my home directory /.vnc/password. Yes. The default option is Y, so I just pressed enter. Okay, and now we're going to run this very long and convoluted command line. Let's dissect it a bit. So it says that we want the screen resolution to be 1080p, which is an improvement from the 720p resolution that we had previously, the maximum possible in QEMU. Then we don't want, by default it only starts a Xterm and no window manager, so we do not want that. We want a full desktop environment mate. This is the name of the executable, X11 VNC. Then in order to silence the warning that there's no password set, we need this command line parameter, which is -RFB. RFB is the protocol behind VNC, AUTH, and then the name of the file where the password is stored. And then we do not want to use the first display, which is used by the desktop manager and the lock screen. And we want to be able to have some text, copy paste of text between the virtual machine and the hardware machine. That's the parameter minus xkb, which makes copy-paste work, but only from the remote machine to the local machine. So only from the virtual machine to the hardware machine. And then it will complain that the x display 1 does not exist. So that's why we use the command in parameter minus create to create an X server. Okay, let's see what it says. So there's no longer the huge warning. And then it says that it has connected to TCP port 5900, which means that when we connect with a VNC client, we do not need to specify which display, or what is this colon 0, because colon 0 is the default version. Okay, on the host machine, which is Ubuntu 22.04, I have Tiger VNC client and server installed. So I have this executable available, VNC viewer, and the IP address ends with 102. So just VNC viewer and the IPv4 address of the virtual machine. Asks for the VNC password, and it failed to start Mate session. We can start it manually. That's exec Mate session. Okay, the resolution that I have selected is 1080p, and the monitor's current resolution is 1080p. So that's why we have these scroll bars in the VNC viewer. I will start recording just the VNC client. So I have managed to configure the virtual machine such that when we start the VNC server, the Mate desktop starts automatically. For that, I needed to create inside the home directory of the user admin the file.xinitrc with the content exec space mate minus session. And then I put a new line. So now when I start the VNC server, I do x11 VNC with all of those parameters and 2 environment variables. The Mate session will be started automatically instead of the default, which is just an extern. Okay, the resolution is correct. It's 1080p. From the command line, when we start x11 VNC server, we can select different resolutions for the virtual machine. We could even have half of a 1080p. So that would be half of 1920, which is 860 by 1080, such that you can put the VNC client to cover half of your screen. For instance, the left half of your screen to be a VNC client towards the OpenIndiana virtual machine, and then the right half of your screen could be something else, such as a web browser. Okay, and then copy paste of text works, but only from the virtual machine to the hardware machine, only from the RDP client towards the host machine, not the other way around. If copy paste of text would have worked correctly between the VNC server and the VNC client machine, I would not need to use, for instance, a web browser inside of the virtual machine. But as it is, I'm forced to use a web browser. So in the OpenIndiana release notes, it says that there are new versions of the most important graphical user interface open source software, which is Mozilla Firefox, Mozilla Thunderbird, LibreOffice. So Firefox should be up to date. Let me terraform it for a second. Ignore what I'm doing now. And 2 more settings. I haven't encountered any bugs, any crashes of the operating system. Firefox seems to work correctly and it's new enough. So the base is here. If you don't require various hardware to be available to your OpenIndiana installation. Since it's a virtual machine, all of the hardware is detected and supported correctly by OpenIndiana. I'm not using the latest possible hardware provided by QEMU, such as the VIRT network interface card and the VIRT virtual hard disks, but SATA is okay for now for virtual hard disk, and Intel 1000 should be 1 gigabit per second, so that should also be enough for now. Until the moment when IllumOS implements support for VIRT by default in the default kernel. Okay, and one more. Downloads, always ask. So you cannot open a incognito mode window by just right-clicking on the launcher. You need to launch it first and then set as default browser. And then you want to open the in private window. You can snap windows such that they occupy half of the screen and a quarter of the screen. So that's an important feature to have. Let's look at the Firefox version. So that's 127.0.1. When we're searching for documentation for a technology that's available in IllumOS, we don't really exactly know how to search on the internet. We might search by that name, such as IPS and then OpenSolaris, or IPS and then Solaris, or IPS and IllumOS, IPS, and the various operating systems based on IllumOS, such as OmniOS or OpenIndiana. The documentation is solid for the base executables that exist in IllumOS, because those also exist in the commercial software Oracle Solaris. So this results from oracle.com. I searched wiki IPS OpenSolaris. I want to see the command line of IPS. IPS is written in Python, says. I'm not sure. Which package? Okay, nano image package. And it's indeed Python 3.9. Okay. So we saw it use ZFS, create ZFS snapshots, use boot environments, such that we could do package installation rollbacks. You can install packages inside of the operating system, so inside the GZ, the global zone, or inside a zone. There's support for synchronizing between the global zone and a zone, such as the IPKG linked zone brand. You can export a package and all of its dependencies that exist in the remote repositories, and it will create inside of a local directory a full-fledged IPS repository with just that package and the packages that are dependencies of that package. For instance, you can create a IPS repository for GNU Nano, the command line text editor, and its dependencies. Okay, it has Elix branded zones such that you can run Linux executables inside. Let's look at the command line. There's a OpenIndiana handbook. We have installed. So this is how to install the operating system, how to write the ISO to a actual disk, USB drives, boot menu, the graphical user interface installer, the wizard pages. We did look at the installation log. There's also an alternative text user interface installer for OpenIndiana, which looks like this. Has some additional features that are not available in the graphical user interface installer wizard, such as multiple disk mirror versus write Z. Post install, this is how the bootloader looks like. Option 6 is to select boot environments. So this is how you would roll back your installation in case you don't like the packages that were installed by IPS, for instance. We could use sudo or pfexec. Pfexec is the native Solaris, OpenSolaris, IllumoS, OpenIndiana, etc. alternative to sudo, it's using role-based authentication RBAC. And if you want, for instance, our local user named admin to be able to install packages, we would so we would do sudo usermod, and then this ability software installation to the user admin. And then we could use pfexec space pkg install. Like this, pfexec pkg install. But I'm used to using sudo. It's available on all of the other Linux operating systems and not only. So I do not actually need to train pfexec to allow the user admin to do various things. Okay, let's search for packages. So pkg search. We searched for RDP. Let's search for Emacs no X. Okay, so what it does is that it searches in more fields than the package name. It also searches in package summary, in files that are inside of the binary package. So what we actually want is this guy, probably GNU Emacs no X. Okay. The alternative, if you don't want PKG to search in many fields of a binary package, and you only want it to search in names, you probably use -p parameter. Let's do that. Alt backspace works. Middle click paste works. Control Shift V works. Right click and paste works. The backspace key works, but if you keep on clicking it, if you just press the backspace key and keep it pressed, it will only delete one character. Okay. So it should find GNU Emacs no X11 and GNU Emacs X11, which and then there's probably this alias GNU -Emacs, or it's a category. So I do not want the graphical user interface version of Emacs. Let's install the text user interface only one. So sudo su, let's become super user in this tab in the terminal of the Mate desktop environment. pkg install, middle click paste. Okay, so it needed to install 3 binary packages. Maybe this is a common sub-package, editor/GNU Emacs. It doesn't say which packages have been installed. You need to look at the progress. But we can see it has installed the 3 packages. No need to reboot, no need to create a boot environment, a ZFS snapshot, etc. Okay, let's see if Emacs works. Control XS, Control XC, and CD to go to the home directory of the current user, which is the user root. Let's see that there's a file a.txt in here. ls works, ls-la works, pwd works, umi works, df shows the various ZFS components. Mount works also. No free. Uname -a. Sun OS, OpenIndiana 5.11, IllumOS, i386, although it's 64-bit. Okay. We have a man page for PKG. We could install a package using URL-like syntax, which is called FMRI, Fault Management Resource Identifier. The protocol, the scheme is PKG, so PKG : / and then the path to the actual package. When we search for the package, let's see if Ctrl R works. PKG search -p Emacs. So this FMRI URL looks like this. You can install a package by just providing the very short name of the package, similar to what you would do, for instance, on the Debian family of Linux operating systems. Or you can provide a path like this. So for GNU Emacs no x11, you could say editor /GNU -Emacs /GNU -Emacs -no x11, or the short one, which is GNU Emacs no x11, or this full thing. Let's see that it actually works. pkg install, Ctrl+Shift+V. No packages to install. Okay, and then the same for the Ctrl left arrow key works for this. For instance, the binary package MC cannot be installed because there are two packages named exactly MC, but with different pull paths. MC being the GNU Midnight Commander text user interface file manager. So there's driver /CPU/MC and file /MC. If you want to install the package MC, it will say there are two packages with a short name MC. Please choose one of them. Let's see how that works. How do we zoom? So package install MC complains that there are two possibilities, file /MC and driver /CPU/MC. So we're going to install this one. Okay, so let's look at the packages that are available in OpenIndiana. Let's search for Qt. There's just two packages. There's Qt5 and Qt6. And they contain all of the Qt modules. And Qt6 is very up to date. It's version 6.6, whereas in Kubuntu 24.04 the version is 6.4.2. So the base is there for building KDE software from the Qt6, that Qt software that's using Qt6. Okay, let's see what we have from KDE. It says that it has ECM, extra CMake modules. Nothing with Plasma. Let's search everywhere, not just in package names. Okay, what about XFCE? XFCE. I do not see anything related to XFCE. What about LXQt? LXDE? Mate. Okay, so there's many Mate packages. The as complete as possible Mate desktop is available in the default package repositories for OpenIndiana. Because I'm using the VNC client, scrolling works both in the terminal application from Mate and also in Firefox. And I do not have two mouse cursors. So many points. I get many points because I'm using the VNC connection. So the points are like this. I can scroll with my mouse, just one mouse cursor, and also the mouse cursor is faster and more precise. I can resize the resolution of the OpenIndiana virtual machine to anything I want. I just say via the command line when I start X11 VNC executable the resolution that I want. I can copy from the virtual machine to the host machine. Let's look a bit at the packages and the default package repositories that are enabled when you install OpenIndiana out of the box. The command line is package publisher. Auto-completion does not work. So it says that we have just one remote IPS package repository enabled, which means that we're missing out because there's a second package repository available, which is called Hipster -encumbered. If I search on the internet for OpenIndiana package search, it provides these two websites, which are actually created by the IPS software. So the Python IPS software has many functionalities, interacts with the ZFS, with zones, with the BEs, and also provides the repository management and also provides a graphical web UI for the repository. And these are those web UIs. The first repository is this one, package openindiana.org/hipster. The second one is pkg.openindiana.org/hipster-encumbered. This one. The web UI allows you to see all of the packages. And go browse. If there's you don't need to select any branch or any version, then there's no combo box for selecting that, and there's just a link for the list of packages where it says the list of all available packages can be found here. So click here. Let's see if Firefox knows how to move tabs to windows which do not exist, which it does. So another important feature to have. The base of everything is this thing, sun WCS. And the encumbered is just 147 packages with audio video codecs mostly. So Audacity, FAAC, FAAD. So MP3, MPEG-4, audio video codecs. David for AV1, FFmpeg, GStreamer version 0.10 and version 1. Some packages are really old, 2022. There's the media player, VLC. And that's it. I would have expected an M player or an MPV media player. I don't see it in here. Okay. So this is what we're missing by not adding the IPS repository hipster minus encumbered. If you want to see audio files or video files that use one of the patent encumbered audio video codecs, then we would want to enable these IPS package repositories and install VLC. There's also DVD codecs, Blu-ray. So development packages for FFmpeg are probably needed by VLC player. Okay, let's look at the packages. Again, search for Plasma, nothing. XFCE, LXQt, LXDE, GNOME, so GNOME, there's the Orca application, GNOME Keyring, Rhythmbox Media Player, Totem Video Player, Adwaita Icons, Icon Themes, Zenity, and Vino. So Vino is a VNC viewer, and Zenity is a dialogue alternative for the graphical user interface. So maybe these are needed by something else, maybe for Mate. Okay, other graphical user interface applications, Inkscape, GIMP, Stellarium, Scanner, applications, support for Apache HTTPD, the not encumbered parts of GStreamer, Pulse audio for sound, the various components of the Mate desktop, such as the volume applet, the Mate mixer. These are libraries. There's Java. Let's go to the applications. So there's thousands of libraries in here. And thousands of Python modules and Perl 5 modules. Python 3.7 and Python 3.9. Okay. Localization, internationalization. Locale being, if you want a command line locale different than EN UTF-8, EN US UTF-8. Alpine text user interface mail application. Mat, another one. There's a meta package for a LAMP, as it were. So OpenIndiana, Apache, PHP or Perl or Python, and then MariaDB or MySQL. Apache, MySQL, PHP. Very, very interesting. There's also nowadays a package build-essential in Illum OS. So therefore it's available also in the operating systems that it enhances Illum OS, such as OmniOS and OpenIndiana. This will install the usual, the toolchain, C, C++ compiler, etc. YouTube downloader, which is YTDLP, and it's very fresh and up to date. Command line IRC chat client. DNS, whatever. DNS server. FTP client. Whatever PuTTY is, probably command line SSH client, I'm going to guess. Qubit torrent. So from November last year, maybe this one depends on Qt 6. How do we find out? Qt 6, this one. So it depends on at least Qt6 version 6.3.2, whereas the latest version available in OpenIndiana is Qt6 version 6.6. The OpenVPN server client, SSH client, CAPS printer framework, various versions of Java OpenJDK, various versions of Node.js, Smalltalk Squeak, PostgreSQL, DNS mask, the SSH server, Samba, ProFTPD, FTP server, Bash and Dash, Ish, K shell, Z shell, Beehive virtualization software, Grub bootloader, there's the network file system, dtrace, fonts. Let's see if there's Noto in here. Noto emoji. I saw ibus for input methods. Probably these two are the installers, GUI install and text install. There's dbus available for the Mate desktop. Many versions of GCC. A DHCP client, a PPP client, Partid, VirtualBox virtualization software, zones, the branded zones, the brands iPackage, KVM for a branded zones that actually contains a virtual machine, Beehive, a branded zone that actually contains a virtual machine. I do not see the brands for LX and for LIPKG. Tmax, Mate terminal, spell checkers, GNU tools, grep, patch, awk, getText, graph. We saw less in action. Browser Firefox and text user interface mode browser e-links. Firefox Java plugin. LibreWolf, another web browser. Three more command line text user interface web browsers. Curl for downloading and other actions, HTTP, HTTPS from the command line. Bluefish, HTML editor. Tomcat, Apache Tomcat. PHP 8.1, 8.2. Apache. Squid, cache server. Nginx web server. wget for downloading from the command line. X11 libraries. X11 drivers for Intel. ATI. I'm not sure if these are synchronized from older versions of the Linux kernel DRM drivers. Maybe they're just Xorg drivers. XVFB, we have just installed this package as a dependency of X11 VNC. This package. Small X11 executables such as xclock, xcalc, xbeef, xize. And that's it. So basically it's the IllumOS operating system with all of those features, including branded zones, etc. On top of it, a pyramid of binary packages that culminate in the Mate desktop. Some very important open source applications, Inkscape, GIMP, LibreOffice, Qubit Torrent, VLC, and their dependencies. New versions of Qt 6, different versions for the programming languages. So for PHP, there's 2, for Python, there's 2, for Perl, Go, G++, GCC, CLang. So this is a solid foundation to build on. The most needed additional help that the OpenIndiana and IllumOS projects need are way more developers, way more volunteers, and more IPS binary packages, so a packaging effort, and then improving the hardware support, such as new Linux DRM graphical drivers, wireless network interface card drivers, VirtIO drivers, etc. Thank you.